This is Toon Talk Weekly, episode 226. This week, Brad and I search the universe for our lost father who was stolen by space pirates when we watch an episode of the 2003 series, Bounty Hamster.
You stole it?
I borrowed it.
To sell for fuel?
How could I know they would get so crazy over some old coffin thingy?
Sarcophagus.
Bless you.
What's the matter, Hamster? Forget how to park.
That's Bounty Hamster to you, you paddle-headed, four-legged... How do you insult a moose?
I was thinking perhaps I could help take a weight off your mind.
That's nice of him. He's being sarcastic, isn't he?
Uh-huh.
The day just keeps getting better. Hey everybody, it's Tuesday once again. That means it's time for another episode of the weekly cartoon podcast, Toon Talk Weekly. That is, of course, this show. Wanted to thank you for joining us once again this week to chat all about cartoons. I'm Jake Williams, but I'm not the only voice you're going to hear today. Brought along my good buddy Brad Chmielewski to talk cartoons again. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. How's the cartoon watching been?
It's been pretty good. Well, no, it hasn't been good. I haven't watched anything except for this. Except for this show, so yeah, so terrible. It's been terrible.
You went with like the default positive response to a little common banter, and then you actually turned it around and said, "Oh no, it's actually been awful."
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny that we're back. I think we're both finally back into our routines after all the travel and stuff. So it was like the first week that we're both like in our respective studios and stuff. So it's like we have time to watch stuff, and then we just didn't make time to watch stuff, except for the cartoon we'll talk about this week. Man, that David S. Pumpkins show from last week. So I watched it. We actually recorded it because my wife and I both thought the skit was funny. Probably me more than necessary. But then she watched it again, and she was actually laughing at quite a few parts.
Really? Okay.
Like at parts that there were bits where I even I guess it was just fresh on my mind, where something happened and she laughed harder than I thought that anybody would. And I said, "Oh, did the raisins thing just happen?" Like I knew what part it was. That's how. Apparently, this is now this is now a Halloween special in this household.
Yikes. Okay.
Yikes is your response?
Yikes. Yeah. I don't know. It's fine. Yeah.
What's interesting is that,
but there's no other Halloween special besides really the Great Pumpkin. So
right. Yeah. What was interesting to me though was that for as much publicity and people talking about the actual David S. Pumpkins skit from last year, I didn't see anybody talking about the animated special at all. It just kind of happened.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe there's too much other stuff people are talking about.
Right. I think I saw a commercial for it when we were watching or catching up on DVR stuff. And that was bad. I was like, oh yeah, I saw that.
I thought you were going to say you saw a commercial for it during watching it. It's like, hey, keep watching. It's still on.
Hey, keep watching. This cartoon's on. No.
Yeah. So I don't know. Kind of interesting that it kind of just came and went. I feel like it's going to be one of those things that years from now, someone's going to say oh, remember that skit? Yeah, I guess they made an animated half hour. That's kind of incredible. People are going to uncover it. So, but that's not what we're talking about this week. That's what our last week's Halloween episode was all about. So definitely check that one out. But we're talking this week about a cartoon that is a British animated children's TV series. This show is called Bounty Hamster. Yep.
Never, ever, ever heard of this show.
It's something that I feel like this idea should definitely have been a thing, and clearly it is, but I just mean I'm surprised that I haven't come across another cartoon with the same premise of this, but basically the idea of this helpful companion as a bounty hunter, but it happens to be a hamster. Apparently the British had that idea first. How I found it, it just sounded cool. I don't know. I looked up cartoons, ended up coming up with this one. So the series was actually created in 2003. I guess I go through these like genre or like time periods of cartoons where I feel like watching something from like a certain era. And, you know, I feel like generally styles just kind of evolve as they go. So you can go by the decades of cartoons and kind of pick something that you kind of know what it's going to feel like. And I wasn't disappointed with Bounty Hamster here. So 2003 is when it was created by David Max Freedman and Alan Gilbey. One season, 26 total episodes, of which 6 were unaired. So we'll never know how it ends.
Wow.
And the episodes are only 11 minutes. So it's actually kind of amazing that I don't know, man. Like, how do you get away with just having like okay, 26 episodes would be 13 full length episodes. So I guess it does make sense. But, well, we'll talk about pacing. I think that's the only comment we've had to each other so far about the show off air, but we'll get there. So, yeah, 6 unaired episodes of Bounty Hunter, or Dog the Bounty Hamster is really what it should be. But the premise of what you should expect from this show is that the main character is Cassie Harrison. She's a 13-year-old girl searching the universe for her father, who was kidnapped by space pirates, and she enlists the only bounty hunter she can afford, a talking blue hamster named Marion.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And that's really all you need to know. Like, really, the episodes are so short that all they have time to do is go on these like mini space missions to either like different planets or different, I don't know if they go to different dimensions or things like that. But I also believe that's the premise of the very first episode, is that she enlists the bounty hunter like she lost her father's gone.
Yeah, I think because, in this episode, there's the question that we'll get to here.
Yeah, so basically our main characters of the series, or at least in the featured episode we watched today, we have Marion the hamster. How can you describe him? He's kind of like this... It's funny that he's a hamster, right? Because his character design almost would make you think he could be any sort of rodent.
Yeah, or just an alien, too. Like, he doesn't...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. He just kind of is like the raccoon from Gladiator, Galaxy Gladiators, whatever it's called.
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy? Yeah. It's so funny because he's basically just like this trapezoidal shape with some long feet and some tiny little ears. He very well could be like, I don't know, he could be in the Angry Beavers world and it would work totally fine as like one of the animals in the forest there. But he wears an eye patch, even though I guess he can totally see completely fine. So I guess it's just a character outfit thing that he has going on. And then also he's often outraged in episodes and very much featured in this one when people call him cute. And he basically defends his personality because he does have a feminine sounding name. And he's also tiny and short and a little rodent. So he's really just like defending himself all the time because he's tougher than he looks, man.
Yeah, but that's what the Guardians raccoon does too.
True. Yeah. Oh, now that you mention it. I'm sure the comic came out way before this did, so...
Probably, yeah.
And then Cassie, the main character, the 13-year-old girl, I don't know, she's pretty resourceful. She's obviously missing her father because he was kidnapped by space pirates. So, yeah, how would you not be emotional about that? But she seems to be up for this adventure in a very smart, like, encouraging sort of like... I don't want to say passionate. What do I want to say? Like motivated girl. Like she knows exactly what she's trying to do. She also knows how to pilot the ship and get around the universe. So that's pretty rad.
Mm-hmm. What happened to her mom?
Oh, good question.
You know?
No,
She just left her.
The amount of backstory I have on this show is little to none. Which is funny because it's basically like I would have to watch the entire show probably to actually understand what was going on here with Bounty Hamster. But yeah, man. So let's get right into it. I mean, we have season 1, episode 3. Entitled Chin Raider, and this was early on in the series. So as you mentioned, Brad, they brought up, I think, early on here how she came to basically get this hamster as like a sidekick, basically, and it's because it only happened 2 episodes ago.
Oh, okay. So, a refresher.
Yeah, and I felt like I couldn't tell. There wasn't necessarily an intro sequence. It was more that there was like. Yeah, last time on Bounty Hamster. It's kind of what it was, right?
Yeah, I guess I thought that was the intro.
Maybe that is the intro. It's so weird, but it's got your typical like space sort of things where like she's talking to the camera as if she's recording from space to send off a transmission. And here's what I did. And hey, I hired this bounty hunter, but it's only one I could afford. After showing all these tough guys, I got this robot thing, and it turned out to be a hamster on stilts. And crap. I'm doomed. Never be able to save my father. Yeah, I guess that is the intro, man. Why did I think it was more like a
I don't know, but I thought it was the intro.
No, I think you're right. Minus points on the show already. No title cards. I love those. I love the like illustrated, awesome look of them. Just some text, but whatever, it's fine. But we begin the episode. We're sort of in space. We're flying around, and the thing that I wasn't quite sure of right off the bat, they're sort of in their kind of like almost like Junker-ish spaceship, their kind of ragtag ship that they're able to go through the universe with. They're being pursued by this giant 3D, actually there's a good bit of 3D animation right in the beginning here, which is kind of cool. This like 3D glowing gold pyramid thing. And I don't know that they ever gave context to what that thing is that's chasing them.
No. I don't think so. Yeah.
I guess the only thing I could have thought that it was is whoever the series like ultimate baddie is, or something, I don't know. But also, because these episodes are so short, it seems like you get a tiny like bit of story, and then maybe we miss something from the end of the last episode. Maybe it just all runs together really well, that we just kind of didn't get to see it. But they're being pursued by this, and while they say, hey, let's try to go this way, but it ends up being some sort of like asteroid field that they're not quite going to be able to get through, and they end up essentially crash landing on this planet that they weren't sure anything about, just strange planet. And that's where we end up for this episode, called Chin Raider once again. I actually had a connection in my head that I just realized I made, and I'll get there when we get there. Sorry. Okay. There's a scene here that made me like not uncomfortable in a bad way, but they tried to play up this idea, this composition for the shot of they crash landed on this planet, and some of their like straps that are strapping and holding on bits of this ship were sort of like wrapped around the spines or spires of this mountainous kind of area they landed on. But dude, for like a full minute, all of the shots are upside down, and I thought maybe somebody put them on the tray wrong, like when they shot it. Like maybe they weren't actually supposed to be upside down.
Okay.
I know what they were going for. It just made me feel weird, I guess, like uncomfortable watching it. But what we get is they're being talked to by this moose character. He's also one of my favorite moose designs I think I've ever seen, because he's like big burly moose boss man, but tiny little moose antlers, like the tiniest that they could possibly be.
No, they're regrowing back in. Is that moose, or is it deers that lose their antlers?
Oh yeah. One of them?
Goats? I don't know.
People? Humans? Yeah. So actually, I'm just remembering now too, this is where another ship ends up showing up. So the moose guy isn't the guy in the pyramid. The pyramid was just something that was pursuing them, or they were trying to get away from. This moose guy kind of seems to be tailing them, and also seems to know that Cassie is actually on this mission to go find her father, and seems to be trying to maybe stop her at all costs. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, as somebody who's only seen one episode of the show, and say that I believe that he's probably the guy leading the space pirates, or he knows where her dad is, maybe.
All right, or that's her dad.
Dude, you figured it out. Yeah. Well, here's a stupid thought I just had, and of course we don't know the answer to. Marion wears an eye patch. It's either he's trying to be tough, or he's actually one of the space pirates, and he's like incognito following her around.
Right, maybe.
Maybe that's too deep for a kid's show. I don't know. So they end up falling. Basically, the ship takes out a piece of their ship so that they fall back down into this canyon. And before their ship begins to fall even more, they find there's this tiny little cave, this hole they can go into. And so Cassie and Marion sort of bolt into action and run over there. I didn't talk about her character design, but Brad, we like cool hair in cartoons. Cassie had some pretty cool hair.
Yeah, hers was pretty nice, yeah.
It didn't make sense how forward it is, and then it's like a lightning bolt all the way down to the bottom. It's got a really cool design, and it some really cool stuff with her character too, that it's kind of flops around as she's running around. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
The show does use what old Batman would use of something like a twisting logo to transition to stuff, like a quite a bit to get places. But however, about 3 minutes into the episode here, we get what the actual episode Chin Raider is about, and it's these bat creatures are in this cave, and they sort of have a ritual that they're doing to this big face that's carved into the mountain inside of this cave. And they have to go through various tests. There's like the test of 1,000 knives. There was another test that involved eating pancakes, which that's a test I'm going to be a part of. And what they do is they have to pass these tests to go speak with this big statue inside of the mountain who has this giant golden cleft chin that just looks like a giant gold butt, like attached to the mountain. Right. And I guess they proceed and they're able to get any question answered if they're pure of heart, if they've completed these tasks. Yeah. So we arrive when these bat characters are doing the ritual, and one of the bats has said, hey, I've actually completed all of the tasks. I can do this. Let me go ask my question. He goes and asks a question, and of course, the statue, what I love is that it's just a giant hand, and he just kind of like rubs his chin, the golden chin, to, decide if he's worthy or not. In this scene in particular, he ends up eating the bat that tries to be
because he wasn't pure.
No.
Yeah.
Brother ambidextrous, have you passed the trial of the 1,000 knives?
Sir, yes, sir.
Have you conquered the torment of the woolen jumper?
Sir, yes, sir.
What about the ordeal of the hot pancake?
Came back in seconds, sir.
Anyone else here think they're loonies?
Then you may ask any question of the all-seeing chin. If it judges you pure of heart, it will answer truthfully. If not, you will perish.
Almighty Chin, what is the meaning of life?
Brother Ambidextrous was not pure of heart, although he was quite tasty.
Every time.
Main characters, onlooking. And this was a weird shot.
Yeah.
I saw it, and I was like, this background isn't done. Like,
okay.
It's really crude, and I was like, what is that? Like, did they not finish the show?
Yeah, so this was something I was going to bring up with you. There's lots of scenes here where there are a few caves that they run through after they're sort of discovered by the Bat people, Marion and Cassie here. And they're running through these caves, and I got to say, man, it looks like concept art. It looks like the initial sketches. The characters are all done, and the animation's all done. Obviously, the voice works fine. Everything's there. But, man, the caves literally just look like a color couple splotches and some like quick lines to like maybe give it a little idea of like, here's where we would fill in some more detail.
Right. Maybe they ran out of time. Maybe that's what they were going for, just to make sure the characters pop. But yeah,
I mean, I guess
one in particular, the first time I saw it, I was like, what is this crayon background?
Well, and it's interesting too. I scrubbing through some of the episode here, like even looking at the scenes with the big face kind of like carved in the mountain, the sort of chin that they're worshiping. It looks a little bit of the same, but in this situation, they had to give it some more detail to have this like ominous lighting. But it looks like, man, they were just starting, and maybe they just didn't quite get through it.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm glad you noticed that too, because I was going to bring that up. That was like, I'm pretty sure this is concept art for what this background's supposed to be. So they're discovered, basically. They try to hide. They're too loud. They're actually like up in the nose or eye cavity or something of this statue.
Yeah.
They try to put on robes and pretend that they're also a member of the Bats here. There's a great scene with Marion. They have to take off their hoods. That's their way of saying, hey, one of you amongst us is not quite who you say you are. And Marion's, of course, way shorter. He's like a fifth the size of these people. And he says, like, oh, I'm not feeling well, and just pulls out a squeaky bat toy that he has and tries to pretend that's him. I don't know. So they get discovered. They end up taking off through these caves. They do have fun going down the sweet big slide. And as they're sort of taking off, the great part is that these bats have it all figured out, that they say, lower the chin into the belly of the mountain, and the face can just like elevate her down into this hole. Okay, sure. Basically, because it's their prized possession, right? They don't want to get the chin stolen. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, while they're running away, they're sort of being watched by a hooded figure kind of over the top of them. And we'll get to meet him shortly. We go run through all these concept art caves that aren't quite done. Yeah, man, seeing them for a second time, it's not finished. I mean, it's finished, obviously, but yeah, man, I don't know.
I bet they didn't finish it. There's no reason.
Could have. I mean, of course, we could speculate all we want, but it could have been a production timeline thing. Like, well, we got all the principal animation done, but we don't have time to do the caves. I don't know.
If there was 6 episodes that didn't get released,
yeah,
this show, they were probably like, Oh, you made a show, but you didn't finish a show. Yeah, we're not letting this show go on the air for any longer.
Oh, you think they saw the backgrounds and they're like, had enough of this?
They like let this go. Some of them are airing, and some execs like, what is this show that they didn't finish? We put this on, get it off.
Yeah. Well, spits out his coffee as he sees the show. Yeah, I can picture it now. As they're traversing the cave here, they're trying to get away from these bat people who are hunting them down. They do end up in this big gap that they can't get across. But hey, lo and behold, we crashed our ship right up there. Let me click the button to like unlock it, and it'll drop this hook, and we can swing across. Basically, what they want out of all of this, Marion and Cassie, they want to actually go see the Chin, because what they want is to be able to ask it the one question, which is, I believe they want to ask where her father is. Right? They want clues to kind of discover where he's gone. But we do find out that as they arrive at the Chin, the hooded figure who's been chasing them, also kind of masquerading as one of these bats, was none other than the moose criminal himself that we saw in the very beginning. And he himself attempts to steal the Chin here.
Approach and ask your question.
Make it a really hard riddle, and I'll grab the cold.
That's not why I'm here. Oh, wise and unlikely Chin, please tell me, where can I find my...
Now we'll never know.
Not him again.
Afraid so. And once more, you've led me to a treasure.
When I get free, your biology!
Don't you mean history?
I knew it was something to do with school.
Sometimes this is just too easy. Oops. Looks like my exit's gonna bring the house down. Bring the house down. I should have my own show.
Cassie and Marion didn't really try to steal the Chin, but they tried to circumvent doing the challenges, basically, to talk to the Chin.
Right.
As this guy is trying to head away, the moose guy's trying to head away with the Chin, Cassie and Marion stop him, but they stop him and even look towards the camera and say, like, oh, look, a very obvious movie reference, because they used his bowling ball ship basically as a big boulder to push towards him, as if it were like an Indiana Jones boulder he had to run away from in this cave.
Yeah, the whole thing was Indiana Jones. They were watching this group of people worshiping something from afar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that they do return the Chin, even though the bats were ready to basically hand it to them. But they said, "Well, tell you what, I know that I stole it. We didn't mean to do this. I just wanted to know something." She at one point in the middle there also completed the challenges. So not only is she honest and forthright with these people she's never met, she also is pure of heart. She knows what she's doing, and she returned it. But then essentially they take off. But they take off because the planet was like starting to collapse under this Chin being removed from its rightful place. That now in the ship, they've got these like 6 bats that are kind of hanging out with them, and they're all their hobo sticks and stuff.
Mm-hmm. They did have to ask the Chin like a question, and it was like, how do I... They weren't able to ask the real question. It was, how do we get out of here? And the Chin's response was, run. Yeah.
How do I get out of here alive? Ended up being their question versus like, how do we find my dad who's
Where's
lost?
my dad?
Yeah. So that was season 1, episode 3, entitled Chin Raider of the show Bounty Hamster, the 2003 British TV show. The connection I was talking about earlier was that I guess there was a little Indiana Jones in there for me. Now that you mentioned, I see more of it, but I was thinking that it was a play on Tomb Raider, which is the game series, which is a similar idea, right? Going into tombs, finding some object or artifact, and then being able to take it out. So, yeah, Brad, what were your thoughts on the show? We already talked about the backgrounds a little bit, but general thoughts on it.
It feels like it's been done 100 times with different stuff, so it's fine.
Yeah,
it's whatever. It's not like bad. It's just it's not done. It's not interesting because I've seen all this before.
Sure.
So,
and I feel like in some ways you've seen it also be more developed or like more realized, I guess. And I'm not talking just about the production quality maybe that we mentioned earlier, but maybe gave you more of a reason to like care or feel for these characters. But I'm not quite sure what it is. I can't put my finger on it. I also felt like maybe the version we had like a weird audio mix. I thought the music and sound effects were really loud, and I had a very hard time hearing what some of the characters were saying to each other.
I guess I didn't notice that, but
I feel like I should
think about it.
Used headphones or something. I don't know. So, yeah, man, it's just fine. I get it. It's like they're going on adventures, but they just seemed like it happened so fast and they were on their way. And now I'm sitting here wondering, maybe this is what they were trying to do. I'm wondering, well, are these bats just with them for the rest of the time? Like, that's it?
Maybe they just collect misfit characters.
They end up being, the misfit spaceship when they find their dad. And she's like, okay, long story, Dad. Picked up these bats.
But I have bats. I got a hamster.
Yeah.
Can I keep them?
It's just, I just really don't know what to make of it. But, fun little show, I guess, for what it was. But I can't see myself diving into the other 20 episodes, the other 19 episodes that aired, considering who knows if they ever find her dad,
Right.
Nobody knows, only the creators. So if you're a creator or you worked on the show, hit us up, toontalkweekly@gmail.com, because I want to know how it ends. That's all. I don't think I'm going to be able to watch it all.
Without watching it. I want to know how it ends without watching it.
I wonder if
it's
assume
she finds her dad.
Yeah.
And she lives happily ever after and, becomes a bounty hunter of her own.
I think I would lose a lot of friends who have been wanting me to watch things like Rick and Morty and Stranger Things if I said, yeah, but I just got to finish Bounty Hamster.
Yeah.
Cool. So I think that's going to do it for this week's episode, all about, I almost called it Chin Raider, all about Bounty Hamster, the 2003 series. But Brad, let's get out of here. Where can people find out more about you when you're not recording Toon Talk Weekly?
You can follow me on Twitter. It's @brad, and then my blog, digitalhitchhiker.com.
Great. Guys, go check out Brad over there. You can follow me on Twitter @JacobWilliams. And of course, if you want more Toon Talk Weekly, we're on Twitter @Toon Talk Weekly, Facebook.com/Toon Talk Weekly. We're over on Google Plus as well. Just search Google Plus, search for Toon Talk Weekly as well, and you'll find us over there. I don't think we have a vanity URL over there, but maybe we do. I don't know what goes into that anymore. Of course, our email just mentioned, toontalkweekly@gmail.com is the place to send any messages, what you think of the shows maybe you want us to cover, or maybe episodes of shows that we should have watched for other shows. I actually had somebody at a meetup recently recommend a new anime to me. Is there a show called like Initial D or something like that? Or is it like an old show? Yeah. Anyway, somebody recommended this. Yeah. They said it was really good.
They might have just redid it, but yeah.
I haven't watched an anime in a while, and then I ended up talking about Trigun because that's, I think, the only one I've ever finished in its entirety. So, and then finally,
you got Trigun and Dragon Ball Z. That's the anime you can talk about.
Yeah, pretty much. And some like Witch Hunter Robin, which I would love to watch for the show, but I can't find a good dub version. I also remember the dub being really bad. Anyway, we're getting nerdy about anime now. And our website, toontalkweekly.com, the main hub for the show. If you guys want more episodes, they're all on the homepage for you, and you get a nice post there. It also includes the video version. If you want to support us even more, head on over to YouTube. If you see the video versions of the show, hit that subscribe button because it helps us get towards more exposure for the channel and then more a vanity URL. So I don't have to say, go to YouTube, search Toon Talk Weekly. So that's going to do it for this week's show. But as always, we'll be back next week with another cartoon.
Take care.
To learn more about the show, visit toontalkweekly.com or follow us on Twitter @ToonTalkWeekly.